Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Tactical Approach. I am your host, Greg, and joining me are your hosts, Kurt.
I'm Kurt.
And Wes.
How's it going?
And today we are interviewing Chrome Badger and Datalink, who are going to be attending the Invitational coming up really soon. And the Invitational is a international tournament. Say hello, Chrome Badger.
Hello.
And Datalink.
Hello.
Yes, and they are both participating on behalf of the United States. And so, in fact, is Kurt and Wes. Is that not right?
That is correct.
Yes, it is.
Is there a leadership structure, actually? I'm very used to thinking of Kurt as being the leader of our group, so... Kurt, are you in charge?
I once again have found myself in the leadership position. The team made me team captain, which I'm ever so flattered to be. And yeah, so this is our Team USA.
It is the easygoing disposition, I think. Everybody is just like, who will we not get mad at? And they go to Kurt.
Or who will not get mad at us, maybe?
That as well. Like, who will not yell at us? Yes. But anyway, though, we did have Micah, who was another local to KC, but he dropped out. What was the reason for that?
Well, I don't want to get too much into people's personal businesses, but...
oh, yeah, it's okay. We don't want to...
But with Micah's case, it was actually rather good news. Unfortunate for us, but great for him. He owns his own company, and his production manager is out on paternity leave, and his company just landed a major contract, so he just has his hands full with business. Business is going well. Happy for Micah. Sorry not to have him here with us.
That's good. Okay, well, so just a brief recap on the Invitational. What this is a Song of Ice and Fire tabletop tournament over in Europe. And you can only get into it through an invitation. A man named Carlo must slide down your chimney in the middle of the night and hand you an invitation. He's a lot like Santa Claus if he weren't wrapped up trying to manage a bunch of elven slaves. Must be quite an honor to have him appear in the middle of the night for all you guys. Did he contact you, or like how do you get the invitation? Who sends it to you?
I'm in one of the stats discords, and there's a Patreon channel there where he posted beforehand. And he kind of invited Patreons a little bit.
Okay, so if you were on the Patreon for stats, then would he hunt you down in the DMs, or did he just like make a big post of like, contact me?
He made a big post before he had announced the tournament publicly and was like, hey, I'm going to set aside some slots.
Okay, that's interesting. See, I asked him if I could dance around like a jester and eat a bag of chips until I threw up. He told me that wouldn't get me in, but I see now.
You just have to have that personal connection. How about you, Datalink? How did you get your invite?
Basically, it was an invitation based upon me being one of the top-rated players from my country, is what he said. So that was how I got my invite. Just a DM.
Okay, was that like through your email? Did he just contact you through the email that you gave to Stats?
Discord DM. So probably because I was a part of a few Discords that he is, as well as including the Stats Discord. I'm not a Patreon supporter. We'd also been in contact a few times before because I'm the local TO, so I'd reached out for assistance with some tournaments.
Okay, so he is genuinely, there are 100 participants, which means that he is genuinely actually hunting people down and sending them DMs and being like, come to my tournament. Kurt, is that the same way he got you?
Yeah, I just want to add a little context for Datalink's case. He is currently the number one rated player in the United States of America. So big accomplishment for him there. Go ahead and pat yourself on the back, Datalink.
You were worthy.
Thanks, Kurt.
For me, it was the same. I received an invite over DM from Discord from Carlo. I believe he mentioned my win at the Las Vegas Open a couple years ago and just my generally high rating in the stats rating system. Although I believe I'm on the lower end in terms of our Team USA members here, but I'm happy to be in such esteemed company.
You were at the top of the charts for a while. The problem is you taught the other players at our game store how to play well, Kurt, and they started to beat you.
I had a goal at one point in time, which I'm not going to get too much into now, but once I achieved that goal, I think I maybe took my foot off the gas a little bit. I had achieved what I had set out to do. But having that goal definitely helped.
You also hunted for that Bolton badge, and you took a hit when you did that one.
A little. Are you telling me Ramsay Bolton is not the premier commander in A Song of Ice?
You also got that before their, buff.
I was smart with the Boltons, and I played them right when they came out, and nobody knew anything about them, and got my badge immediately, and then haven't played them since.
Haven't touched them. Man, I'll be honest. I got the neutrals badge for the Lannisters recently, and trying to get through the Bolton commanders was probably the least fun I've had with my Lannisters. And that's not even using the whole Bolton army. That's just using the commander. Like,
Roost should work pretty well still with Lannisters. At least. Neutral Roost, he's got the cards for it.
For our audience and all this talk of badges, the rating system tracks your wins and losses, including who you win with. And if you can win with every commander in a faction, you'll achieve a badge for that faction.
Yeah, it's one of the nice incentives.
Achievements.
It's for achievement hunters, yes.
Achievements. It's a nice incentive to get you to play things you wouldn't normally play. Yeah. But Wes, how did you get your invitation?
Sheer dumb luck.
So I'm hearing you are one of the +1 invitees.
Well, yeah, kinda. I didn't actually get any message from Carlo. I got a message from Kurt last month saying, "Hey, would you be interested in going to invitationals?" I said, "Heck yes." He's like, "Okay, message Carlo." So now I'm going to invitationals, and my passport's supposed to be here today, so I'm good to go.
To provide a little context, Carlo was in charge of sending out the invites. He handpicked and selected people based on their accomplishments or high rating, or if they were Patreons to stats, and he sent out a flurry of invites. And initially, for Team USA, we had quite a few other members. We mentioned Micah earlier. On top of that, we had reigning U.S. national champion Mo was invited. Imitation Lobster was amongst those invited. For the team event, for a nation to have a team and be represented, we needed 4 players. And unfortunately, going to England is a bit more...
It's like $2,000 or something like that just for the flight, isn't it? And then you got hotels.
Well, the airline, actually, I got my airline ticket pretty cheap, which surprised me. But it is a big ask in terms of time, finances, whatever, to make this journey over to England. And life happens. And so I took it upon myself to hand out a couple other invitations to players in my Kansas City group that I know, that I trust, that I believe have what it takes to compete at a high level, to sort of bail us out and ensure that we could still reach that 4-player number that we needed to compete and represent our country.
And in fairness, the KC guys are pretty good, and we've seen some good turnouts from them at the U.S. national stuff, but we'll get to that a little bit later. For now, let's go ahead and get into what armies are everybody playing. We'll go ahead and we'll start with Chrome Badger. What are you going to bring to this event? I mean, for one, actually, how are you guys going to get your boxes out to Europe? Are you just going to have to check them as baggage and then hope that they don't get crushed or lost?
I have a system where I'll be doing it as a carry-on. I took my figures to LVO. Nothing survived the trip if I checked it, so I'm not looking to check a bag. I have I think it's a GW, like a Warhammer case with foam in it. I'm going to put all my figures in that. But I'll be bringing the Greyjoys.
Yeah, I never trust the airlines with my baggage anymore. I feel like they lose it more times than not. And it's weird because you think statistically that shouldn't be the case. How about you, Datalink? Are you just kind of roll the dice and let them keep it, or you got a carry-on plan as well?
I was planning to do carry-on. This will be the first time I'm traveling by air with an army. I was definitely going to reach out to some people and ask how they'd done it. Every time I've traveled to a big tournament, I've been traveling by car, so like drove to nationals.
Yeah, it all goes in the trunk, safely stashed away with the magnets holding everything down.
Yep.
But yeah, Kurt, how are you going to carry your army? And what are you bringing?
I'm bringing my Baratheons, and I've flown a couple times with my army, and I've done it a number of different ways. So I've taken it on as a carry-on before with my plastic stacking containers that you see a lot of people carry their armies around in. And that was a little bit of a hassle, just carrying that through security and lugging that around. And I found I've actually had success checking it, just all the boxes, and putting it in my checked bag, surround that by my clothes, and then using a hard shell luggage piece. And I've had no issues.
Okay. And so you'll actually have it checked. Are you going to be arriving in time if they lose it and they need to get it back to you? Do you think that you're going to have enough time before the event starts? Or are you going to be in trouble? You're going to have to borrow somebody else's army?
I will be in trouble. I believe I'm leaving, with time, ahead of time of the event. But I believe I land around midnight the day of the event.
Oh, no.
So, I will be probably severely jet lagged. I'm going to try to sleep as much as I can on the flight.
Okay. Well, fingers crossed on that. Then how about you, Wes? What's your plan?
We're supposed to have plans.
A plan is helpful, yes.
No, I haven't thought too terribly much about it, but I was probably just going to use the original original boxes, it works good enough, and I was probably just going to check it. I'll roll the dice, see what happens.
Okay, and you're bringing your Targaryens.
Yes.
Are we looking at like the standard? Yeah, Drogo and...
I mean, I don't see a point in playing Targaryens if you don't use Drogo and or dragons.
I can't believe you're not going to go to Nationals with your Freedmen.
I mean...
They'll follow you anywhere. That's the whole point of the Freedmen.
I got them, and I painted them. I've never played them.
Oh, well. Well, that's too bad. We were talking to Carlo. Apparently there are rewards for if you guys play with the worst possible army. The person who did the best with the worst possible army. Just throwing it out there. Maybe you can talk Carlo into a special Freedman category.
Yeah, no, I'm not bringing them.
So for context for our listeners who aren't familiar with Ice and Fire, in the books, at one point, one of the characters gets followed by pretty much a whole mob of starving peasants. And the Song of Ice and Fire game was like, wouldn't it be cool if you could field that mob of starving peasants in the game? And you can, and it fights like a mob of starving peasants, which is to say, it gets slaughtered wholesale. No advantage to you whatsoever, but you can play them anyway. But anyway, though, so that's what we got. Actually, I think we skipped over Data Link. What army were you bringing?
So I'll be bringing Targaryens as well for the individuals event. I play a lot of armies. If you look at my play history, I like to switch around a lot, but my two main armies are Greyjoys and Targaryens, and I played Greyjoys last two like nationals, and I figured I'd do Targs this time, and I've been practicing with them. But for the team tournament, I'm going to be bringing Brotherhood just because I own them.
In the team event, we're required to run different factions, and we can't use any of the same characters that our teammates are using. So we had to split up our Targaryen players.
Yeah. Well, you could convince them. Look, they're just moving so fast. They're riding so fast. It looks like they're in two places at once. Believe me, it's just one army.
Currently for the Targs, you just mentioned Drogo, but I'm actually looking at not bringing Drogo for my Targs.
Oh yeah, what are you thinking about instead?
Yeah, I'm thinking Vargo and Mother of Dragons actually right now.
Vargo, interesting.
Well, he brings a little bit of a different twist to what people expect when playing against Targaryens, and he's also pretty good against a lot of Brotherhood builds when Brotherhood should be well represented, and they're pretty strong. But a lot of their attachments, and they get the free attachments, can be handled by Vargo. It also just brings a little bit of a different twist to the Targs, and I've got a list down that I'm really comfortable with, and it's been doing really well. And I've been running Vargo before Brotherhood even dropped, so it wasn't just a response to Brotherhood.
That's interesting. Do you think that that's uniquely for Targs that Vargo does well? He's generally considered not that great. Like, his card game is not stupendous.
And his exploit weakness card will catch people off guard because you can use it with ranged attacks. So I run Golden Company crossbows, and to get that spit out that vulnerable coupled with rerolls at long range, people don't always think about how much damage that can do with the Sundering attacks.
Devargo isn't that bad in Targs.
Yeah, I think in other armies he can be pretty solid. I think actually he's very good in Night's Watch at the moment. I've seen some pretty good Night's Watch lists run him. Careless Aggression, of course, works really well, pumping out some surprise shots from, say, a Stone Thrower.
Scorpions can also do that.
I had not even thought about Careless Aggression with the Stone Thrower. I'm going to tell you, that would make me angry. The Stone Thrower is my least favorite unit to face in the game. It is the only one that you can park in the back of the field, and it just pummels you all game long. That is absolutely malicious. But anyway, though, have you tried this out at tournaments or anything so far?
I have. Just a local tournament. So we had an 8-person tournament here last month in Montana. We have some good local players as well. We have the person who won the last Adepticon here locally in Montana. But Vargo I ran, and he did well, and I ended up winning the tournament.
Okay. So you guys have probably a lot of experience with a lot of different tournaments. Have you happened to run into each other before?
Well, locally.
I know that Kurt has fought Wes for sure. I mean, we're at the same game store.
Carlo won't be playing. He'll be running the event, but I did get the opportunity to play against Carlo not once, but twice at U.S. Nationals 3 years ago. He then took the second game off of me on day 2 and knocked me out of the tournament, but, tit for tat.
I got the displeasure of losing to Datalink at Nationals.
I don't know, Wes, in your opinion then, would you say that Datalink is going to be pretty good since he beat you at Nationals?
Yeah.
Are you going to get to play him in the singles is the question. Can you get revenge?
After Nationals and like half of my matches being mirror matches, I hope I somehow don't have any mirror matches at the Invitational.
Just stay away. Let's not do Targs versus Targs. It'll be happier for everybody.
Yes.
I think that tourney doc they put out puts everybody into 4 separate groups. U.S. players at least shouldn't play the other 3 U.S. players to start.
Have you guys had a chance to play against any of the other like international players that are going to be there? Do you know any of them, or aside from Carlo?
I haven't played against too many of them. I personally play mostly in person. I appreciate the mod and the sim site, but for me a lot of it is tactile, so I like to play in person. I met with Mickey when he was here for Nationals 2 years ago, but I haven't actually played against any of the international people other than Canadians, I guess, if they count.
If they count.
If they count. They're still Americans, really. They just got, North Americans broadly.
There's a lot of rumors about a 51st state.
Let's not touch on that. That could be incendiary.
The only games I've played against anyone, I think we're all online through Tabletop Simulator. I don't think I've played any of them in person.
Well, Tabletop Sim is still something. It at least gives you a bit of a feel for...
I believe I lost all those matches, too.
Oh, okay. Well, that's foreboding. You know what it is? I was going to say it's because your models aren't painted on the Tabletop Sim. They're just simulated.
That's right. If they're painted, they roll better.
Yeah, and we've got a great local painter that has painted a lot of your models up really well, our local guy, Chris.
Yeah, Chris has been phenomenal. I've had a couple different people paint units and NCUs here and there, but Chris has done the bulk of my painting for me.
Yeah, and he's got with those good paint, you add a lot of luck into your models, so that'll be good.
Are you telling me that's why my dragons always roll a 1?
Yeah, you gotta paint those guys. Those are centerpiece models. How did you not go to them first, realize you shouldn't have started with them because they're your centerpiece, and then really regret?
Gotta get them painted, buddy.
Because freedmen are freed slaves, so if they look like crap, it makes sense.
In what world do you paint your freedmen first and leave your dragons unpainted?
Dragons scare me.
I have that struggle. You always want to go to your bestest models. That's the first one you want to paint. And then, of course, they're always the worst painted at the end of the day. By the time you're done with all your little guys you didn't really care about, you're really good.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you got to get those dragons. You speed paint. What do they call it? Slap chop.
That's 90% of my painting.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fine method, but get some lucky models going. But yes, so you guys, though, you can't say that there's anyone in particular that you're looking at as a dangerous rival or anyone that you're concerned about, because you haven't really experienced a lot of it, or have you?
Everyone.
The whole...
If I have my eye on a couple people, but I would love a chance to play against Mickey. 2 U.S. Nationals ago, I was so close to facing him in the final, and I face planted so hard in the semifinal right before I would have been able to challenge him and defend the title. But I would like that second chance.
I think anybody, honestly, is going to be hopefully going to be a good experience. I mean, there's a lot of big names there, so I don't expect to win a lot of games, to be honest, however bad that might sound. But hopefully I can walk away with a good time and learn something from people that are a whole lot better than I am.
I mean, I honestly would not count yourself out. As I recall, you did really well at U.S. Nationals, didn't you? You were pretty decent.
I was 11th.
11th? What was that? That's more than halfway, right?
I mean, I'm not complaining at all, but yeah, it was... I mean, how many were 80?
83 players at U.S. Nationals.
Yeah, 80. 11th out of 80. That's not bad, honestly. I think you'll do all right, Wes.
It's all those mirror matches.
All those mirror matches, yeah. Get lined up with some people who don't like to be run down by horses, and there you go. But yes, like we were saying earlier, though, this is going to be just a huge ask for everybody who's coming out. So I'm not surprised that a lot of American invitees couldn't quite make it. I mean, Kurt, you said that you got your tickets real cheap. Did everybody else get so lucky?
I got an okay deal with Aer Lingus. I'm not too put out by it, but it is still, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. Are you planning to stay for an extra amount of time to kind of see Europe and get the travel's worth out of it?
Yeah, I personally, I think I'm taking probably 7 days off work itself, and I'll be jetting around before the tournament itself. So hopefully I can deal with the jet lag by being there a bit before.
Yeah, that'll be good. How long are you going to be there before the tournament?
Basically the week leading up to it, I'm there.
That's clever. I was telling my wife about this event, and I was talking about how Kurt was going to be there like the day of, and she doesn't even play A Song of Ice and Fire, but she was scolding everybody for not having the foresight to arrive a week in advance. She was like, I don't even play this game, but I cannot imagine spending days playing a strategic tabletop war game while jet lagged. She was mad. At those of you who didn't make that choice.
Well, I'll be there for like a week after.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be feeling good after the tournament.
Right.
But yeah, no, that is going to be rough. Daddling, how about you? Are you going to be landing ahead of time, or are you going to be on the end of my wife scolding?
A little bit ahead of time. Unfortunately, due to my current position at work, it's a little bit harder to justify taking off an entire week. So I'm kind of splitting it up. I'll arrive Thursday, which is the day before the tournament starts, but in the morning. So I'll get about 24 hours really to hopefully get rid of as much jet lag as possible. Yeah, I'm the only person in my office. So when I leave, nothing gets done. So
okay. Well, I'll let my wife know it. It couldn't be helped.
I appreciate it.
She'll be a little less.
I am supposed to arrive the Thursday beforehand, and between flights, I took almost 2 full weeks off of work.
Are those you guys who are going to stay late? Are you guys planning on hanging out together at all, or you got independent plans?
I have no plans because up until yesterday, I wasn't even positive I'd get my passport in time. So I have 4 days of hotel for 2 weeks and a plane ticket.
Cool. All right. So
I'm sure being from Kansas City, Wes and I will hang out some while we're in Manchester. I have a cousin going with me. We're going to go around England and see some of the sites.
Speaking of that, have you told any of your coworkers where you're going? Are you like, I'm going to Europe? And they're like, oh, what for? And you're like, Plastic Army Men.
I'm actually required to notify my work if I engage in any international travel. And I have told a couple coworkers, I humble brag about my nerdy hobbies from time to time.
Yeah, I've told my coworkers, and they're all very, very interested. They always have something to talk about with it. But one of the weird perks of my job is that after 5 years, you get a sabbatical where you get to take a month off. And one of our coworkers just got back from a sabbatical where he went skydiving the entire time. He just skydived for 30 days in Australia. So there's a lot of weird hobbies we've got at our job.
That is cool, but terrifying. I personally find flights to be a little scary. I'm always a little afraid of flying. So that sounds like an awful way to spend your free month to me.
I don't mind the flight. I don't think I want to jump out of the plane.
Yeah.
I'll pass on that part.
It's good staying inside of it, yeah. Man, I joke that it's like I played with Plastic Army Men, but when you're enthusiastic and you do really love the hobby, it is contagious.
I think it's important to have a hobby, or someone could risk worse hobbies.
It is true, yes. No, actually, in the Kansas City area, in the Midwest in particular, I'm often not surprised when I find that you hear that somebody is like a musician that's gotten really popular, or we've got a lot of really good players in KC. I feel like partly because there's not a whole lot to do around the KC Midwest area unless you really like hobbies. Or
we have our sports teams, but we don't have mountains or oceans, so we are a bit landlocked.
Yeah, we don't do like surfing, we don't do skiing, you can play football, but that's seasonal. Although, of course, we've also got the tabletop, the Cardboard Corner, which is, honestly, it's a great social place because you go there, you get your waffles, you play some board games with friends and family, and socialize with a lot of people. And so there's kind of a lot to it. I feel like it's a really great place for the whole community in general.
Yeah, we're extremely fortunate to have such a wonderful local store that has so many different aspects to it that,
yeah,
it's a great spot.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, after the tournament, though, what are your plans for after the tournament? Are you looking on to another tournament? You're going to get started on the next thing? Or are you going to take a little rest before you think about all that?
At least where I live, the tournaments are a bit spread out. I'm up in Wisconsin, and sometimes there's tournaments and sometimes there's not. It's a shame that Adepticon is at the same time.
I'm the regional TO for, I guess, Montana, and we our last tournament last month in February, and the last couple of tournaments have been just regular tournaments, kind of in part to help me practice leading up to the Invitational. So I have to plan the next one, and we're probably going to do something not standard.
Okay, so you kind of keep right at it. And I know locally, Kurt and Wes, they both organize our local events, and we do one every single month. So you guys are going to go out there, going to do all this, and come back and be on fire for the next event, right?
Yeah, I believe April, that'll be a standard month, right?
Yes, because we have our draft one, next weekend?
Yeah, that'll be a fun, goofy kind of event for March before we head out to the big, serious tournament over in Europe. But,
yeah. So you guys are going to go out to do that and then come right back and run the April thing. You're probably going to be jet lagged when you get back because you'll be there just long enough to get over the jet lag in Europe and then be jet lagged at home.
That's part of the job.
It might be finally my opportunity. I have not beat you in a game yet, Kurt. I did in one, but it was in one of our off games, one of our non-serious ones. Maybe you come back, tired, exhausted, not able to think straight, and I'll get you, finally.
I'm sure you'll get me soon. Everyone eventually does.
I don't think I've got you in a tournament yet, Kurt.
You?
Casual play, but I don't think I've got you in a tournament.
You've definitely beaten me at open play. We've mentioned a couple times our Kansas City group is really strong, and iron sharpens iron. And I remember when people like Wes were brand new to the game, and hey, that's someone I can beat easily. I don't even have to try. I remember when Micah didn't know how to play his cards, and less than a month later, he was beating me in tournaments. So everyone does really great, and everyone's improving, and by playing each other, everyone's growing and rubbing off on one another, and we're really fortunate to have the group that we have and the players that we have, and that we can all promote one another in such a fashion.
Yeah, it has been a good play group. Sorry that Micah couldn't make it out, but glad that things are going well for him. Did you pitch it to anyone else? Like, did you propose this to Brandon or any of the other guys who do really well at our store?
So Brandon was a Patreon of stats similar to Chrome Badger, and was originally one of the ones planning to go, and he was another one that had to drop out for personal reasons.
That's a shame. It would have been kind of cool if we had just like the KC group all going out there and just feel like, oh yeah, representing from the US, and also just more specifically Kansas City only. Not that we're not happy to have Chrome Badger and Data Link. It's
thanks.
Cool that you guys are going out. But we are all from KC, so KC Pride.
So if you live on the coast, you need to take your pitchforks and flint torches to Carlo,
Mo is Georgia, right? That's kind of coastal, depending
Louisiana,
on where.
right?
Mo's not coming, is he?
He was invited, but he had to drop out.
No, I guess you could kind of say I am, maybe, because I grew up in Eugene. I'm only in Montana for Eugene, Oregon, so I'm only in Montana for work, and I move around a lot because I'm in the military. So,
do we know, is anyone coming out from like the other parts of North America, like Mexico, Canada, anything like that?
I believe there are several Canadians going.
Okay, so we got Canada representation. Do we know about like South America? Are we pulling from like?
I haven't heard of any of the people down in the southern countries coming.
The reward for winning this thing is going to be like a wooden gladius and maybe a box or something. I can't remember what exactly Al Carlos said you guys were going to get, but it certainly wasn't thousands of dollars in prize money. So
it's really the prestige, right?
It is. It's eternal bragging rights.
Yeah, the bragging rights, the fun of having been there. It is cool. I as someone who enjoys the game and the hobby and the community and everything else, it is cool, in my opinion, that you guys are going out to do this.
I think if nothing else, just to be able to play on an international stage against some of the best, the cream of the crop. It's an opportunity I knew. Once I got my invite, I was 100% locked in. I was like, I'm not going to miss this.
But anyway, though, speaking of all that pride for our local group, if you guys, Chrome Badger and Data Link, ever want to come out to KC to hang out, we have great barbecue and an active gaming community and monthly tournaments. Throw that out there. We'd love to have you.
I've got a sister down there. I'll have to visit sometime.
Okay, it would be cool. It would be good to see you. But anyway, though, so that's that for that. And what's next for us on the tactical approach, Kurt?
So right the day before the Invitational, CMON will be releasing the next update patch. So once Wes and I return from our voyage, we will be covering that update patch right here on the tactical approach.
Oh, speaking of that, are they going to be using the patch change during the tournament, or are they just saying, like, no, we're not going to touch that?
No, we had a cutoff of about, was it March 15th, I want to say, of if the patch wasn't out by then we weren't going to use it.
Okay, because that would be hilarity. If you guys all landed, and they were like, all right, and the units that you brought, all nerfed. No value whatsoever.
Yeah, there was some speculation as to if the timing was not so suspect.
Okay. Well, at any rate, though, so that's what's next. We're going to be talking about the update patch for Song of Ice and Fire, because that's coming out soon. So if you guys enjoyed this show, you can like us on YouTube, you can subscribe, and sometimes that does something. You can write your congressman. That might do more. I don't exactly know. You can follow us. We have a podcast, so you can use a RSS if you prefer to follow us that way. It tends to be more reliable. And that's pretty much it. We got anything else to add, guys?
The podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, though, for whatever you use.
Okay. Well, that's it. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Once again, I am Greg. This is Kurt.
That's me.
And that is Wes.
Yes, sir.
And of course, our guests, Chrome Badger and Datalink.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining us. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Hope you guys have a fantastic month or however long it takes for us to get back to you again.
Bye.
And thanks for joining us, everybody. And we are now committing to a tactical retreat. Farewell.